Welcome back to The Race. When a big business moves into a small town, it can help boost the entire economy. But what happens when that business leaves? Alexa Liaco went to a city forced to rebuild after their biggest source of jobs left.
I could hear that mill day and night, sitting right here, and you knew everything was all right. Listen up there now. Pretty quiet, isn't it? Pretty quiet.
The silence haunts Paul Coleman every day.
I had no sights, no goals on retiring. I would have kept on working as long as I could.
For nearly 30 years, he worked alongside hundreds of people inside the Luke paper mill.
The mill was the lifeblood of this community.
The mill is nestled into the hills on the Maryland-West Virginia border. For the small towns around it, this big business was really the only business.
Everything was centered around that paper mill.
But last summer, this electrician got news he couldn't believe.
He said, the mill's closing. I thought he was kidding.
The closure was real, and almost immediately, Paul's unemployment benefits fell short.
Thank God I had my 401k, which I had to dip into.
Still, the bills piled up.
We lost our health insurance.
As this father of four tried to look for work.
Reality is what it is. I know nobody's going to want to hire a 62-year-old electrician.
The magnets on his fridge, a sharp reminder of the life he had.
That's out of the question. You have to live within your means.
The most painful adjustment, not having what he needs for his daughter who is disabled.
Your dad's girl, ain't you? My chairlift is broke down. That's the chairlift we use to get her up and down the steps. I called a guy today about putting a new one in, with almost $10,000 to put a new chairlift in. Where am I going to get that?
So each day, he gets to work, fixing what he can.
I don't claim to be the best at anything. Not the best electrician, but you got to keep going, keep moving, regardless of what you're dealt.
For 131 years, the mill employed thousands of people and kept local business afloat. But when the doors shut for good, it wasn't just the families who worked there who felt the devastating blow.
It went from 7 days a week to not knowing what you're going to really do tomorrow.
Richard Moran is a coal supplier in the area. He laid off dozens of workers when the mill shut down. Months later, his family's legacy is hanging on by a thread.
Right now we're doing odd jobs, basically.
He's not only lost income, he's lost the future he's dreamed of.
I know my kids won't stick around here. You know, there's not going to be anything for them here.
And I think there's just an attitude of hopelessness and helplessness that's here.
Fueled by no new jobs and no way to relocate for most living in this rural community.
That's not an option for me. This is my home.
The United Steelworkers Union President Gregory Harvey says these struggles are only the beginning.
Insurance ran out, severance ran out, unemployment ran out. So now it affects the area. So now there's people not spending money like they were spending money before.
He's working to get as many of his union members employed as he can, but the jobs in town are low paying.
These guys was used to making $70,000 a year, and guess what? Now they're making $28,000. That's a hit.
Still, the community holds on to hope that this closure isn't the end.
My hope is that somebody buys this mill and reopens it back up. And if I get the opportunity to go back to work, I'll go back in a heartbeat. Do I have to be an electrician? No. I'd go back and shovel a ditch or do whatever it took.
A plea to someone, to anyone, to rescue this town and these families.
Come on to our area and help to restore a people, help to restore hope. I think there's a blessing in that myself.
For The Race, I'm Alexa Liaco.
While some small towns work to build a strong economy, others are working to make theirs even stronger. Dan Grossman went to a rural area that has been growing for years.
In a land of peaks and valleys, there are highs.
The town of Saguache itself is really not that big. We have only close to 500 residents.
And then there are the lows they sometimes bring.
Everybody knew everybody, what they were doing, what was going on, and then all of a sudden we had a flux of people that they were out of towners.
Doug Peoples owns a grocery store in the heart of Saguache, Colorado, a town that has never seen more than 700 people call it home in the last 30 years.
Most of them came in with just a little bit of money to try to get started.
In 2014, that changed as soon as Colorado became the first state in the country to legalize recreational marijuana.
I would venture to guess we saw 2,000 to 3,000 people just move in almost overnight.
Because of its vast landscape, a county that had less than 2 people per square mile started to quite literally grow, and rapidly, as people from other states started coming in and growing pot with the intent of returning it to their home state and selling it, something that's illegal.
You just hope to come across it.
It caused issues for County Sheriff Dan Warwick, who had fewer than 10 deputies available to police more than 3,200 square miles of land.
You'd see people come in, they would grow on a piece of property that they leased for a short period of time, leave all their trash and junk everywhere, and then just pack up and leave after they harvested.
There was squalor and crime as sheds laid abandoned, and a town used to the quiet landscape of agricultural life had to find ways to adapt.
For a while there, this place was kind of the wild, wild west.
And adapt, County Commissioner Jason Anderson did.
The first year, it was only $6,000. Again, because the legal operations weren't up and running.
In 2016, the county overwhelmingly passed an excise tax that would give them 5% of all products sold from legal growers to retailers. While the first year's tax was small, the second year brought in $67,000. But last year, the county got $280,000 in tax money, meaning it could finally start benefiting from a product that had caused so much turbulence.
We hired a code enforcement officer and outfitted him with everything he needs full-time, which is something we could never even think about beforehand.
The county also set up a scholarship fund for local students planning to go to college and helped others get to school by updating trail systems that encourage kids to walk in a county where there's a 46% childhood poverty rate.
I think it's better off in that we need all the resources we can to continue to adapt to the changes.
Some places still have yet to see the money. But in a land of peaks and valleys, the folks here hope they're heading to the former after already experiencing the latter. For The Race, I'm Dan Grossman.
Our trip through rural America continues next.